The concept of the homestead exemption in Arizona reflects one of the oldest and most fundamental protections in property law. The idea that a person's home should be protected from certain financial hardships. The Arizona Homestead Exemption, established under Arizona Revised Statutes, Section 3310 through Section 3305, safeguards the equity in a homeowner's primary residence from most creditors. This protection ensures that families have a secure place to live even in the event of financial distress, such as bankruptcy or civil judgments. In simple terms, the law recognizes that while debts may be collectible, a person's home represents stability and dignity and should not be easily stripped away by creditors. The homestead exemption applies to individuals who own and occupy real property as their primary residence. This includes houses, condominiums, manufactured homes, or mobile homes that are affixed to land owned or leased by the occupant. The exemption also extends to individuals purchasing a home under a contract for sale and even to those living in a mobile home situated on leased land if it is their principal residence. To qualify for the exemption, a person must be a resident of Arizona and occupy the property as their primary dwelling. If a property owner moves out permanently or leases the property to others, the homestead exemption can be lost. However, temporary absences do not necessarily terminate the exemption if the individual intends to return. For example, an Arizona homeowner who temporarily relocates for medical treatment or a job assignment retains the homestead protection as long as they intend to return and maintain the property as their home. The primary purpose of the Arizona homestead exemption is to protect homeowners from losing their homes due to unsecured debts such as credit card judgments, personal loans, or other civil obligations. Under ARS Section 331101, up to $400,000 of equity in a person's primary residence is exempt from attachment, execution, or forced sale by most creditors. This means that if a homeowner has a judgment filed against them, the first $400,000 of equity in their home cannot be taken to satisfy the debt. For instance, if a homeowner has $350,000 in home equity and a $100,000 judgment is entered against them, the equity remains fully protected. However, if their equity is $500,000, creditors could potentially access the $100,000 above the exemption limit. It is essential to understand that the homestead exemption does not protect against all debts. Certain obligations, such as mortgages, mechanics liens, property taxes, child support, or HOA liens, are not exempt from collection. These are considered secured debts or priority liens that attach to the property by law. For example, if a homeowner defaults on their mortgage, the lender can still foreclose, even though the homestead exemption exists. Similarly, if property taxes remain unpaid, the county treasurer may pursue a tax lien sale despite the homeowner's exemption. The Arizona courts have reinforced the protective purpose of the homestead exemption in multiple cases. In Evans v. Young, 1970, the Arizona Supreme Court reaffirmed that the homestead exemption is to be liberally construed in favor of the homeowner, ensuring that families are not left destitute. The court emphasized that the exemption serves as a social policy to preserve stability in family life, consistent with Arizona's constitutional principles of protecting individual property rights. This ruling remains a cornerstone of how the statute is interpreted today. Homestead protection automatically attaches to the qualifying residence without the need to record a declaration. Before 2021, homeowners had to file a formal declaration of homestead with the county recorder, but this requirement was repealed by the Arizona legislature under House Bill 2617, making the protection automatic. Once an individual occupies a property as their primary residence, the exemption applies by operation of law. This simplifies the process for homeowners and ensures that protection is not lost due to a lack of procedural knowledge. A practical example helps illustrate how this law functions. Imagine an Arizona resident who owns a home valued at $500,000 with a mortgage of $200,000, leaving $300,000 in equity. If a creditor obtains a $50,000 judgment against them, that creditor cannot force the sale of the home or place a lien that would attach to the protected $300,000 in equity, because it falls within the $400,000 exemption limit. However, if the same homeowner had $450,000 in equity, the creditor could pursue collection on the $50,000 difference. The homestead exemption thus provides a clear balance, protecting residents' essential housing while maintaining creditor rights within defined limits. It is also important for real estate professionals to understand that the homestead exemption continues to protect the homeowner's interest even during certain transfers or refinancing transactions. Under ARS Section 33-1103, the exemption remains valid as long as the proceeds from the sale of the home are used to purchase a new primary residence within 18 months. For example, if a homeowner sells their protected home and intends to buy another within that period, the proceeds up to $400,000 remain shielded from creditors during that time. This encourages continuity of home ownership while maintaining financial protection during transitions. Review Summary: the Arizona Homestead Exemption, ARS Section 33-1101 et seq., serves as a vital legal protection that shields up to $400,000 of a homeowner's equity from unsecured creditors. It automatically applies to an individual's primary residence, including houses, condominiums, and affixed manufactured homes. The purpose of this exemption is to promote financial security and prevent families from becoming homeless due to civil judgments. However, it does not protect against secured debts such as mortgages, property taxes, or mechanics liens. The exemption remains active as long as the owner occupies the home as their principal residence and may extend to sale proceeds for up to 18 months when used to purchase another home. Discussion: why did Arizona lawmakers make the homestead exemption automatic rather than requiring a formal declaration? Answer: to ensure that every qualifying homeowner receives protection without the need for filing paperwork. Promoting accessibility and fairness for all residents. What types of debts are not protected under the homestead exemption? Answer: mortgages, property taxes, mechanics liens, child support obligations, and HOA assessments remain enforceable because they are secured or priority debts. How does the homestead exemption promote family and financial stability? Answer: it protects the homeowner's equity from most unsecured creditors, ensuring that families retain their homes during financial hardships and can rebuild without losing their primary residence. Closing remarks: the Arizona homestead exemption embodies the principle that every person deserves a secure place to live, even amid financial adversity. It reflects the state's commitment to protecting property rights and family welfare, ensuring that debt collection does not lead to displacement or hardship. Real estate professionals must understand this protection because it affects how judgments, liens, and equity are handled in transactions. By recognizing the scope and purpose of this law, agents can better advise clients and ensure compliance with Arizona's strong homeowner protection policies.